The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program, and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
And it is Wednesday in the Riv after an absolutely epic meeting of the City Council. It was it was unprecedented. What a horror show. And here's my phone. It's like they got radar. No matter how many times we tell them we're on the air at this time, they call us. So let's get right down to business, CJ. It was something. I hope if you didn't watch it, guys, please watch it. It was something to see, something to behold.
It was the worst 2.5 hours of my life.
Yeah. Well,
I was so heated after that meeting. I was yelling at people on the phone. I was even yelling at you on the phone. I was passionate. I wasn't yelling. I was passionate.
So that's right. We have to be semantically correct, because you see, this is what they use. They use words in different manners, and there's a double standard. If you're on their side, you're passionate. If you're not on their side, you're a lunatic, right wing, crazy
Liar.
Oh yeah, that's our boy Coogan's favorite word. Everybody's a liar except him. So, but what fascinated me at that meeting was the lawyers were talking, and it isn't amazing how I got like deja vu, as Yogi Berra said, deja vu all over again, listening to the Corporation Council talk and say, I have case law, or I have frequently asked questions, I have this, I have that. And you know what I had a flashback to, CJ? Dominion.
Yeah.
Didn't the Corporation Council say, we got case law, we got this, we got that, we got everything, and they got hammered.
Yep. And what did I say? When they said they couldn't find the decision, they couldn't find the letter, I said, 5 seconds later, here it is. Who wants it?
Yeah. But to listen to the lawyers, the other guy was pretty, like I said, he was putting on a good show. Yet last year, when the budget went through it, nobody talked about them having to go line by line or anything else. So, the thing that to me.
But remember, Rumsey conveniently found an email from 5 years ago telling them that they had to restrict the budget or reduce the budget line by line. Yeah. So I guess the City Council will never forget that, because what's going to happen is next year, when that budget comes before them, hopefully that new City Council will turn around and say, oh, no, we have to do it line by line.
Oh, absolutely.
So we're going to start cutting money right now.
And again, the pathetic charter reared its ugly head again with its ridiculous language. It's got to be scrapped. This shall, and by the way, they did say, and this is the irony of it. Listen, isn't it amazing that the rest of us have to abide by laws, but government doesn't? They're always excused. Their rules of order are different. Cushing's allows them latitude that you don't get under any other rules of order. If you're a Democrat, you can say that the United States is a terrorist nation, and you were that's not really what you meant. It wasn't. But if you're on the other side, you're a right-wing crazy, you're this, you're that. And we saw that kind of last night. It's like, okay, we got the email from 5 years ago, but then if that was a given, so that means for the last 4 years they've been allowing the law to be violated, correct? Right. Every single corporation council every single city administrator, the CFO, who said all they had to do was approve, reduce, or reject, not by line item. Never once was that mentioned during the budget hearings, but that's okay. That's kind of like our buddy Paul, who was talking about how people make up stuff and they lie all the time, and he kind of directed it at us. And he went back to the time I said 90% of his family was in the school department. Yeah, it was an exaggeration, but it was there for what? To just to draw the fact that, highlight that he's a politician. He is a political fan. He comes from a political family. His brother, his nephew, and how many other people we don't know. And I did challenge him to give me all his family and all his extended family belongs and tell me how many of them got government jobs or ever held a government job, and I'll give him the accurate. But it's like a fish story. I tell you, I caught a fish that big, and it really wasn't that big. It was trying to highlight it. It was really a characterization. And then I said I could do it, what Mary Sahadi said, and said it was just an over projection. It's not really nice. But the difference is when Mary Sahadi over projected, she was bound to give them accurate information as the city's CFO and its fiduciary. But did Paul Coogan ever come forward and say Mary Sahadi's a liar?
No, Sean Kadim had to do that.
That's right. Because if you're on his side, you don't lie. But he picks out a word, even if it's an innocuous thing, exaggeration for effect, bombastics for effect. And then he tried, that's his MO, because you know what Paul Coogan does? He plays, oh, shucks, I'm Mr. Nice Guy. Don't you guys all want to go to heaven? Don't you guys, why can't you be more like me? I'm a wonderful guy. Everybody likes me. Why don't you like me? What's wrong with you? There's something wrong with you. You don't like me. I'm Mr. Cool. I'm Mr. Nice Guy. All the kids at Durfee liked me. Why don't you like me? Well, Paul Coogan is the most dangerous kind of politician. There are politicians who will stand up and tell you where they stand and tell you they're coming after you. Paul Coogan is a politician in the mold of Billy Bolger and Tommy Finneran. And I knew Tommy Finneran fairly well. He used to sit with the firefighters every time he came to Fall River for anything because he loved firefighters. I saw Finneran and Bolger at legislators' nights that they used to have in Boston. Those guys could get jobs in entertainment. They could tell stories, tell jokes with the best of them. They would have audiences in the palm of their hand, spinning yarns and telling jokes and being folksy and being everything. And even people who disliked them at the beginning said, wow, these guys are they're hysterical. I mean, these guys are great. I mean, you could listen to them talk all day. And while they were talking, they were kneecapping you. Find out what Finneran did to people who were his opponents. They're stabbing you in the back while they're smiling at you. Just like, what did Paul Coogan say to the Herald News? Oh, yeah, we got some work to do. I'm going to come back with a budget. Did he come back with a budget? No. He backdoored it, backroomed it, and he stabbed them in the back.
He governs by ambush. He governs by ambush. And I mean, and all you have to do to see that is what he did to the city council this week with the 45-day rule, okay? For years, this city council has always done it this way. So from now on, what's going to happen, and we're going to have to remind city councils in the future that when the budget is presented to them, they have to wait 2 weeks for the public hearing. Schedule that public hearing 2 weeks out, and then schedule your budget meetings just like you do regularly. Do 2 or 3 meetings a week until the 45 days is up. And remember to remove something every day from the budget. Take money out of the budget every day. They don't want to do it. You do it for us. And that's what's going to happen. So what the mayor created is now a mess Because in the future, and future mayors, because God forbid we get him for a second term, what's going to happen is future mayors are going to have the same problem. And they'll have the 45-day rule. And so the new city councils will be picking apart their budget line by line. And they won't be able to govern. And they won't be able to run their departments the way they want to because the money's not going to be there. And that's the way it's going to be.
Yeah, you're right. And what it does is it sets up an adversarial relationship. The way they did it was, as they tried to do it this time, councilors get up and they articulate their issues with the budget. Oh, this salary, that salary. And now that gives them an opportunity for the mayor to come down and work with them and see what's acceptable. But now what you've set up is, okay, I send it down. That's my budget. And the only alternative, and they said it, your only alternative, not to negotiate, cut it.
Right.
You don't agree with it? Cut it. And that's what they're going to do. And so, again, he thinks he's in the school department. See, the school department was always run like a reign of terror from the top because every superintendent of schools, whether it was Meg Mayo Brown, Malone, they ruled with an iron fist. They were like the Speaker of the House in Boston, who everybody has to jump when he says jump and ask how high. And that's what happened to Bob Carrere when he came down and tried to run a city like the Speaker of the House. They booted him after one term. You listening, Paul? They booted him after one term when he was when he was dictatorial, to use one of your phrases in your citizens' input. But this is the problem. This is the problem. We know how they do business in the school department because we don't have to look very far back. All we have to do is look at what's happening today with Malone, the cover-ups, the manipulations. You know, we know that they're covering up, and we know what they got. We know the jobs they got for their families and their friends. We know that Costa got a job for his wife that she wasn't qualified for, and you above all know the nursing kind of regulations, and they made a job. We know that Corey's got a daughter in the school department. We know that Mimi Laravi's relative is the president of is the principal of Durfee. All these people have vested in. This is the way it's like inbred jet over there, and they hide everything because their autonomy given to them by the state allowed them to create their own little fiefdom. So they're trying it over here. So he sits behind closed doors like they did, and they plot like they plotted to spring this thing out, and they surprise everybody. So it was clear when Leo Pelletier, a guy who voted for the budget, not to reject the budget, I think that was telling when he said, well, you know, I could see him counting at 44, 45, and then he said, oh, I got you. I'm going to get my way. Even Leo Pelletier, I think his statement was perfect. And he said, if I would have known it was going to be done this way, I wouldn't have voted for the budget.
Right.
And this is the problem. This is the problem you got. Because, you know, there's an old Castilian saying, tell me who you walk with, and I'll tell you who you are. Well, I know who Coogan used to walk with, Mark Costa. So that tells you who he is. And I'm one of the few people that have seen the other side of Paul Coogan before last night, and it was brought to air. I saw him rolling around the tennis courts where the Flint Fire Station is now over a line call with Bruce Hall. Call me a liar about that one, Paulie.
You know, last night's meeting it was off the rails. And you were right. Leo, I couldn't believe Leo. Leo did such a good job of explaining things. But again, he's got a lesson. Now, hopefully he learns from that lesson. Hopefully he learns from it. And he realizes that the administration lies. The administration lies. The administration lies. Did I say it enough?
One more.
And one more. Yeah, the administration lies. And until Leo gets that through his head, it's just not going to happen. And I applaud Michelle Dion.
Oh,
I applaud Sean Kadim. I mean, they did a wonderful job. I applaud Chris Peckham. I lost a little faith in Trot Lee because he was unwilling to do anything. And I lost a lot of faith in the entire city council, the entire council. And I'm going to tell you why. For them to challenge the budget in court, they have to file by 4 o'clock today. According to the vote that was taken, they allowed the city council president and the city council vice president to talk to KP Law about what legal options are available, not what legal options they can take. And the city council president turned around and said, I will not bring this matter to court unless I have the vote of the city council. Well, you can't get the vote of the city council by 4 o'clock. Therefore, you shot yourself in the foot. You shot yourself in the foot. The other thing that you shot yourself in the foot on is when that release came out on Sunday, you should have went into Monday and called an emergency meeting on Monday and had a meeting there. And if you got an open meeting law violation, guess what? You got an open meeting law violation. They don't fine you anyhow. So you get it. But then you would have had 2 days to deal with this issue instead of 1. And the 1 day that you had to deal with this issue, you did nothing. You've done nothing. And that's the problem. Now, they're all looking at, well, we don't want to spend the money. The taxpayer's going to have to pay for it. I think the taxpayer would have paid for it because you're not suing the mayor. You're not suing the budget. You're challenging the charter once again. And the taxpayers don't mind challenging the charter.
and the other things, CJ, on this is what really disappointed me about Trot. He articulated some pretty good points. And then when it came down to taking the city on about the budget, not about the mayor, about the process and the charter, he started worrying about the money. Well, let me explain something to you. What you just said was, it's okay for us to lay down and allow the mayor to bully this budget through with all those pay raises that they spent all night articulating. The $100,000 that really had was never explained. All the other monies that they had in that budget, all the pay raises in that pay raise that violated ordinances. After explaining all those hundreds of thousands of dollars, you're going to let a budget go through so he can get his way on all of those things and give all his friends raises. It's going to cost the taxpayer more to eat this budget than it would be to get an injunction and allow you to cut that stuff. Shame on you for not knowing that.
Exactly.
Shame on
you. What would it have cost? $10,000, $15,000? Yep. And had we got the injunction, the mayor may have come back and said, okay, let's negotiate. And they could have had a meeting today and negotiated out until midnight and then had a budget in place.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if he'd ever do that. I don't think
this mayor doesn't want to negotiate. This mayor doesn't want to negotiate because I'm the mayor. It's my way or the highway. Well, guess what? I'm the voter, and it's my way or the highway.
And you know what disturbed me when they talked about the correspondence that said that he was meeting with Clarkin and this guy and that guy and all these lawyers and his lawyer friends and his banker friends he's always talking about. I guess they're running the city.
Exactly.
I have to ask, and somebody did say that. And by the way, before we run out of time, we got a little bit, but I've got to say something about Michelle Dion. Everybody, those guys, those people, Kadim, Peckham, even Trot Lee, Pamela Liberté, excellent points, excellent stuff. But Michelle Dion, I've been watching this council. I've been watching council meetings for a long time. I've been watching the political landscape for a long time. But when she went through that budget and pointed out things and got Tim McCoy to look down at the table and not lift his head and said, "I'll take that as a no," that was perfect. That was an example of what a city councilor should do. She did her homework. She went to the page in the budget. She read off the numbers, and she kneecapped his ass in front of the camera. She kneecapped him. And that was one of the best moments I have ever seen in the city council. She got one of the political hacks to get these jobs to actually, by acquiescence, and in case that's too many syllables for some of you, it means to agree or assent by your silence. He shut his mouth and looked at the table. He was beaten by facts, beaten by the reality, admitting that budget was bullshit. Great moment. I encourage you all to watch it. But now to get back to him and doing it, there are some things that you can't put a price tag on. One is defending the taxpayer. People can say what they want, but the reality is this is about, and that's what really upsets me. They spent the entire night showing how this budget was bloated, money in the wrong places, and how it isn't a budget for the people. And then they worry about how much it's going to cost to fight for those people, fight for those taxpayers. The four people who voted, forget about, the one on the end, forget about it. She would vote if he wanted to make install gas chambers in the basement to get rid of his opponents, political opponents. So, but I mean, for the most part, shame on those people. Leo made a great thing about, this is all about you getting your way, which is true. But I think that was exposed, that this is all about Paul Coogan getting his way.
But he still voted against a legal action.
That's right. But he voted against the legal action. Makes no sense.
Right. I mean, it baffles my mind. But, Sean Kadim brought up some very good points. There is a structural deficit in this budget. He's got $4.5 million in ARPA money. And Sean asked very clearly, that hasn't been approved by the city council. Does it have to be approved by the city council? Tim McCoy had no answer. He goes, we sent you a balanced budget. No, you didn't send a balanced budget. 1.9 million here, 4.5 million there. That's a lot of money. You sent a budget with a deficit. Therefore, it's not a balanced budget. Now, if the city council doesn't approve those funds, what is the city going to do? Because they don't have a balanced budget. They're going to be running into the deficit. What happens if the city council doesn't approve anything that this mayor sends down from now until the end of his term? I mean, any transfers, appointments, nothing gets approved. It just all sits there. What happens? What happens? What happens to government? Government will stop.
Well, that's what they should do. But you know what disturbed me? I got to it before, and I'm going to finish it now. What was exposed was his backroom government, his shadow government, his banker friends, most of whom live out of the city, his lawyer friends. Now, they talked about some lawyer named Thomas. I don't even know who that guy is.
Matt Thomas is the housing attorney, the property attorney for the city of Fall River.
I know who Jay Clarkin is. I know him very well. I met him a long time ago on the track at BCC. And but what are these guys doing in the back room with the mayor? As the corporation counsel so eloquently said yesterday, I'm the city attorney. What's Jay Clarkin doing in there? What's this guy Thomas doing in there? You got a law department. You got a corporation counsel. What is Jay Clarkin on the clock? Are you paying him? Are you paying these guys for their legal information in money or in favors? Now it's out. These people are giving you legal advice, working on legal stuff for the city, even though we have a law department. Why? What are they getting out of it? They're doing it because they're altruistic? I don't think so. So all these things, when you lack what? The thing he ran on, the big T, transparency.
You're swearing.
What yesterday's meeting proved is this guy does everything in the back room.
I'm not going to argue with you. Definitely no argument. And again, we're seeing exactly what everything is opposite to what he said. Everything is opposite to every promise he's made. Okay? And even his actions as a school vice principal is opposite to the goodness and the good functioning and the good promotion of education. I have a list of students that will testify to that fact. I have a list of people showing how homophobic he is. I have a list of people showing how they were told to quit school. You're stupid. Get out of here. Quit school. A list of people. Let him call me out on that. I'll give him one. Just one I'll give him. And let's see how he answers that. Okay? I'll give him two. Let's see how he answers that. I'll trot them all out in front of him during one of his campaign events. And let's see how he handles that. I'm not playing games anymore. I was a nice guy until he went on Fall River Raw and basically called us liars.
Yeah.
I'm not going to have that.
No.
Okay? You want to say that we exaggerate. You want to say that, we over-projected. I'll take that. Okay? But don't call us liars, because the one thing we aren't liars. We have our facts. We know what we're talking about. And don't pick out one word and say, oh, that's your problem, because it's not.
Well, remember one thing, CJ. If you want to characterize that as a lie rather than a vehicle of highlighting somebody that they're a politician, a little exaggeration for effect. But what does it harm? He corrected it. We took it. I said, go give me it. I'll give you the exact percentage. But the point was he was a politician. Was that an absolute lie about the cost of the healthcare plan that Mary Shahadi did? And you have the tape of the PEC meeting when we corroborated that. Was it what and the cost of their premium that she overprojected? See, that was a lie, and an intentional lie from someone who is bound by, as a CPA and as a CFO, and their fiduciary obligation to give accurate numbers. And she didn't. But did Paul ever come out? No. That's like the Squad. They can say anything they want, and it was just a mischaracter. That's not what she meant. We got to give us some slack. But if a Republican says it, they get canceled, they get crucified. There's a double standard. The fact is, when we talk about lies, that's one of his favorite words. Call out all the liars, including everybody in your administration that goes in front of the council. And like last night when McCoy ended up looking at the desk, not answering a question.
I know. I love that. That was, and hey, Rumsey did the same thing.
Yep.
Rumsey did the same thing. So it was definitely an interesting meeting, but on a scale of 1 to 10, I've got to give the city council a 4. I'm sorry. I got to give them a 4 because they lacked the fortitude to take it to court. And that's the way that is. Well, We are out of time, and we have so much more to talk about. I want to thank you for watching, and keep watching every day. Subscribe to us. We're here. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. Stay safe, stay angry, and definitely hold your politicians accountable. Thanks for letting us in.